How good is the next best thing after you, Diane?
Jonah can't beat it.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, payday.
Okay, so I gave each of you a payee report because we now have 2 new commissioners who also have businesses that we pay in the county. I think it would be advisable for all of the other members of the board to approve those amounts with the commissioner that has the business abstaining prior to signing off on the payroll voucher board.
Good idea.
And so that is, that was something that Jonah had said they did at Hillsborough, and he requested that. I think it's a great idea. So
Okay.
that's what you have in front of you. So Alcon Services, and then Western Associates, which is Dave's company.
Okay, the first one we have there is Elcon Services for December services of $871.98. I'll make a motion to go ahead and pay that.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
I want to ask a question. This was done prior to your actually taking the seat, this work? Or
No, that's 12,
No,
12,
I think,
12/19?
Well, there's dates on the side there where the services are, on the left-hand
Yeah.
side.
Okay, so I would question going forward about having the commissioners actually do business for the county. I think it's borderline conflict of interest.
I think that that'd be something that Brad could answer, but I think if they abstain and the other commission approves it, I think that that's something we should ask Brad about. Because
think it
if
is
they've been a vendor that we've been dealing with for all this time,
I understand
I
that.
don't believe that just because they have become a commissioner that the county cannot do business with them.
And see, I disagree because I think by becoming a commissioner, it was a decision that they made.
Okay.
It puts, from my personal opinion, it puts me in a compromising position because I like Jonah. And I want to see Jonah do well in his life. And right there it says it all. So am I going to vote no? But it's right or wrong. It puts me in a position where I would not want to hurt him or hinder him. Okay, so I'm not gonna vote no. And there's gonna be times when I feel as though no would be appropriate. And I just think to eliminate that, I don't know how much money profit is made on some of this, probably crumbs. But I personally, I think if somebody's gonna abstain, it's gonna be me. Because I don't think I could participate
Okay.
in configuring my soul to do something like that. I mean,
Well,
you know.
I think we actually have 2 questions. Whether to go ahead and approve the work that's been done. And then the second question would be to take that under advisement with Brad to see where we would stand on that by continuing a business relationship.
And also these, right, which I don't disagree, but I will say that the commissioners aren't the ones who have instigated the work here. It's been the department heads, and they do have a set level that they're approved to, and all of these are under that level, so.
I understand that, but that even brings up another one, because if I were selling a ware, whatever it is, and I knew that I'll just pull one out of a hat, or let's just say the health department always buys from me, and then the health department has a problem down the road, and that person buys from me all the time, is that gonna influence my ability to make an appropriate decision? I mean, the conflicts go on and on and on, is what I'm saying. And so, for this vote to continue on, I'm gonna abstain.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
we're
not
just
gonna
dealing
cast
on
it because I
on the
can't.
2 invoices that we have here. And the first
It's
one
just
is,
to approve payment for services already rendered.
first one is Elcon. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, and the second one, we
Abstain.
have
Okay, and I'm not
Okay,
sure,
so
okay.
3,
Maybe that's
4.
another question for Brad.
Yeah. Next we have is Western Associates, an amount of $1,205.26. Any discussion on that? Not, I'll entertain a motion to pay that
I'd
one.
make a motion to pay that bill as well.
Second. Moved, seconded by Jonah. All those in favor?
Aye.
I stayed.
I was saying.
Okay. 3 and 2 abstentions.
You know, even in Congress, you know what they do when they don't want to vote? They simply say present. So it is something that, as far as protocol is correct. We need to check it out though.
Present?
That's what they say. You have to, if you want the government being right,
Yeah.
if you're, if
Well,
you have
there's
a conflict of your own or whatever.
I don't know what the difference between an abstention and
An
just
abstention
present.
actually counts with the majority when you count the votes, so it's not an opposition. So if you abstain, whoever wins, that's where your vote has gone.
I would disagree with that, but let's see. I'll check it out further.
Okay, let's move on. Payday.
Thanks for doing that, Joe.
You're welcome. Okay, so the payday, let me do sales tax too before I forget. The sales tax was $60,439.31.
I think that's
Okay.
16.
What's that?
Was it 1610, actually the difference between last year's and this year's? That one at the very bottom right.
I need to check those formulas because I don't do this spreadsheet. But yeah, it was only, yeah, 1610.
8,000
Yep,
this year.
that looks about right, 1610.
And then the 8700.
I don't
would be
think
the
that
difference.
that has been updated.
Well, that should be the difference between December last year and December this year.
Right. It should be,
Okay.
but I don't, oh yeah, it is actually. Okay,
Mhm.
sorry. Okay, payday. We have grand total payday, $1,041,928.63, which includes the payroll at 515, 951.88. And then you do have the detailed report. We have a hard copy here in the book, if anybody needs to browse through that. And then if you have questions, I can pull individual vouchers or invoices.
Any questions from the commission on payday?
Actually, I have several of them, you know,
Go ahead.
I was just asking Tina if she can answer some of these questions. That I have as I was going through this. So I have a question on page 1, Marion Inc., and that is for the W-2 1099 forms, $560. I get mine from IRS free. Is there something that governments can't get from IRS free?
We have to get a certain number of forms, and
I got
I
that.
don't believe we can get them for free from the IRS.
Okay, I know I
In
get about
that
100
quantity,
of them.
and we have to have them specific set up for our programming and our printers.
Okay. So, and then I have a question on page 3. And of course, that is the Hoffman-Sherman bill of the $5,560 for services legal. And I brought that to the attention of the commission. I would highly recommend that we do not pay that bill at this time until we had a conversation with Brad about it. Because we're paying for services we did not receive, really.
Well, I believe Brad was here when you discussed it, and the board did not take any action not
Well,
to
we
pay it.
did, because I just brought it up in public comment, because that was the only time that I had. I just mentioned it. So we didn't really discuss it. But that's just what I recommend that we do there, because that was such in my opinion, a sham job. And I say in my opinion, because that's a lot of money to pay for receiving nothing. I have a question about this, I don't understand what this is, TV2, and this is from Mike Powers upstairs in his, did they just have?
Can you tell me what page you're on?
Yeah, 5. So there must be TVs. I haven't been up in that office, up in that area, that judge's chambers. Is there TVs up there?
There's TV in the hallway, isn't there?
I know there's one there. Well, I know there's computer screens and stuff, so I don't know what that was. And I know the
I can
security
get that, I
system.
don't know the answer, so I can get the voucher if
Okay.
you'd like.
Well, I can look at it later if you want to.
Well, no, I don't mind getting it, I just thought you were still speaking.
Well, I just didn't know what the TVs were and stuff. And I know the security system, I seen the people up there this past week was installing that. And so then on page 6, I would ask, I don't understand, okay, on page 6, you have Jeff Bena under planning and zone, it says year, I'm assuming that's mileage reimbursement they've done, do they do that annually?
Yes.
Yeah, annual
Okay,
mileage.
so Jeff Bena isn't on the planning and zoning board, so I don't understand why he would be reimbursed for mileage. I was kind of confused by that as well.
6.
Yeah, this is on
Would he-
page 6,
would he
midway
have-
down. I mean, it's, I'm sorry?
Would he have been there would he have been there first meeting last year?
I would imagine. I
That's what
can,
I'm thinking, is it been the
No,
first
I
meeting
don't
last year?
think so. I don't know, I don't, if that was the first meeting, maybe so, because there's no date, so I don't know. It was just something that stuck out in my mind, I just.
Well, Marty Dalk would be the same way.
Yeah. Yeah. Mark ain't no longer on there either.
And he's, yeah, I seen he was on here also. Okay, well, that would answer that question.
Well, they had their
then.
annual meeting, they had their annual, I don't know what they call that. They had to have an annual dinner and then their meeting. And I know that those that were coming off of the board were at that, because they invite the commissioners to that also.
Yes, I went to
And that
that.
would be.
and I think that if it's mileage reimbursement, it would have been probably the first meeting of the year
Yeah.
as they transition.
Because they have their meeting after that, and then they come off.
Okay, okay. And I noticed we do pay an awful lot of money on training and things like that, and one of them, of course, is the appraiser's office, which I fully support training, don't get me wrong, I fully support that. My only thing is, I'm just gonna ask that the commission consider, and we had discussed this briefly once, that as we're paying all this training and training and training, that we do start getting the employees to sign a document saying that they would then work for the county for X amount of period of time, and if they fail to do so, then they reimburse the county for some of that training. And I think that's something that I'd like to see put on the agenda for discussion, because we are really putting a lot of money into some of our employees for training, which I think is good. But then I'd like to have something back in exchange for that as well.
I think we do.
Mr. Dalkey, I thought you even at one time seen some form, I think EMS
Yes.
had a form that they had to
Yes.
sign.
Yeah, they had to sign. And my question to you would be, is some of these trainings that we're sending them to, is they have to for their job they're holding.
Mhm.
That's our responsibility.
Got it,
And they don't have to sign for that, but
right.
anything, where that come in is anything above,
Mhm.
if they're a clerk and they're going for their
Mhm.
other, then it becomes part of the commission where we have an agreement or something like that.
Right.
But that's where it should have a dividing line in there somewhere.
Mhm.
If they're going above and beyond their job qualifications for extra, then the commission needs to make that decision if we need to have them work for us.
Right, and I think, and of
Yeah.
course, within the department, they would know, which ones, the department head would know which ones that would be
Yeah.
more so than.
Right.
But I just think that some of this is not, and I remember talking to some of the department heads, and it's not, I mean, some of it is, like you said, just required for the job, but some of it is not. And so, I just wanted to bring that up also so that we can
Well, the
address
main question on
that.
that was, earlier was EMS, because, those folks have to get their AMP,
Yeah.
EMT, paramedic,
Yes.
and then if all of a sudden 30 days later, they're going to Sedgwick County or somewhere, there's a way for us to get reimbursed for that training.
Right. That is my questions.
Okay, so did you want me to pull any invoices or?
I would be interested to know about the TVs, just curious, I don't know if it goes like that, or just curiosity, no big deal.
Okay, I wouldn't know that without asking. I don't know if it's gonna say that specifically on the
Well,
invoice, but
okay.
I can ask the judge.
Well, I can ask the judge.
Do you want me to?
No, I'll ask him.
Okay. I mean, I can still pull that invoice if you'd like. I can do that and see if it says anything.
Okay.
Right down there, seen this?
voucher. It doesn't really say anything other than that they were TVs.
Okay.
But I did call Jan, and she said that one of them goes in the judge's office and the other in the jury room, and they're both court-related. They watch DVDs on them pertaining to that
Okay.
case.
Okay.
So. Any other questions?
Any other questions?
For card services, that's just a credit card bill.
Yes. We have a purchasing card.
Is that bill points? That you cash out?
We do get a rebate once a year.
Do we know if our Kirk and Michael bill is that the final?
No, there'll be one more after this.
Any other questions?
Okay. and
Yep.
we need to sign off on these.
Yeah. Get us dinner after this one.
That's the call time report.
Go up here in church and pass them out.
That's in the collection.
Okay, the next thing I have are the minutes of December 23rd.
Any additions to, or corrections to the minutes of the?
So there is one correction, and if you go 2/3 of the way down the page, you'll notice on the planning, zoning, and environment, it says Dalkey second and motion carried 5-0. Novak second and motion carried 5-0. So one of those statements is correct, one of them is not. I'm not sure which is which, but one probably needs to be removed. I don't remember who seconded.
I can check my notes.
Okay.
Okay, we'll come back to that then.
Okay.
But I would approve them with those changes, with that change, either way, if you want to make a change or come back to it either way.
Did I make the motion to approve that?
Remember.
And I didn't look at the video, I don't know. But it was either you or me.
Yeah.
I was sick this last week, and so I was doing these minutes from home, and so my computer, when trying to connect to the network, doesn't always.
Keep up with it.
Yeah, it kind of is quirky, and so generally we would have caught that in the proofreading, so I'll check my notes and correct it, bring it back.
Okay.
Yes.
For the end of the year, do we have a total sheet of where we stand on comp time? For everybody's total for the year?
I can get one.
Yeah, just so all the commissioners see it.
It's not on that overall report. Isn't there a?
Hey, that's why I didn't get it over the first time.
Is that
Now,
all
that's
departments?
just road and bridge.
Okay.
Just road and
We
bridge.
generally do a report every month that shows all the departments' totals, so
Yeah.
if that's not in the folder, we'll get it for the next
We
meeting.
have had access to that.
Yeah.
We do have some change orders. And perhaps while the board is doing that, I can check my notes and do the minutes corrections. Is that okay? Okay.
Sure.
Really get them all on task. On the road.
Flip those two together, Dave.
There's some better days. Yeah, it's been taped together a few times.
Sit down and get
That's what we're
One of our bosses make it a mobile billboard or
Is that the
backboard.
overall sheet? Did you look at those?
That's just for our two body, Labor Day, October 1st. Put a banner on the side of it, and you can park it somewhere for a mayor or whoever. We don't have a true recommend development person.
Oh, is it in all?
Moved it to Belgium. Prison training for actually try to haul people in. Start with is just see if it's going to we can manage it. That's all the people's time and some costs, recommendation.
Yeah, it was just December. Yeah, that's just a monthly deal there.
Yeah.
Three of them individually at one point, they're all singing, I think off the phone. So, we're doing something with the Huh?
When I saw that out there, I was going to baseball camp. And so we could get to Wichita, Kansas City, to pick them up in Dallas, for the play for a week, and bust it back down. They could make it that far. I don't know how old it is. I just saw it. Said morning.
Yes, sir, I paid for this
Going
one.
down 35, at least, 135, which was bigger than Wichita. We put it back down. Two buses.
This one. Oh, there it is.
Empire on the side. Yeah.
Jumping into Australia outback buggy.
A guy's heavy boogie.
Did you get you to go up straight now?
Yeah. Yeah.
My notes said that Novak was the person who seconded that motion, and so I had made that correction to the minutes.
Okay, any other discussion in the minutes of the 23rd? Not, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve.
Second.
As presented. Second by Joe. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks for catching that.
Okay.
Okay. I was handed the transport fuel bids from the bridge office.
We'll be in there anyway. Yeah.
Okay, transport fuel bids, 2 bids. Cooperative Grain and F Service. Cooperative Grain being low bid, $18,340.
47, right? 347.
$18,347.
Yeah.
Yep. I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve the low bid from Cooperative Grain.
Second.
Moved by Joe, seconded by Jonah. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I do have checks that have been outstanding for more than 2 years, and the treasurer has asked that those be canceled. And that is done by motion and a vote.
I think she said that they make multiple attempts to advise these people. to
Yeah, and
find
several
them.
years ago, the board, I think 2 or 3 years ago, at least, the board had kind of basically set that as a standard that they needed to follow up with all of them. And so I believe that they've been following that policy.
Yes.
So instead of this coming up over and over, because we did one last week or the week before.
Yeah, that one was for the register of
Right.
deeds.
Registered deeds.
If it hits a 2-year mark, can we just implement something that just, so it doesn't have to keep coming before us?
It's a good legal question.
Yeah, I'll call a question to Brad.
I mean, 2 years is pretty ample time, so I figured if it hits that mark, it's,
Even though some of the names are familiar. to
oh
me.
yeah, I know some of the people, so I was,
You know, some of the
Something-
business, I'm sorry,
That's
some of the
okay.
businesses put on the check, void after 6 months or void after so long, and I just.
I've got some that are 90 days.
Yeah, some of them do say that.
Yeah.
I know that there's a statute that requires, so we'll have to check with Brad to see if that, doing it that way complies with the statute.
Or
Where it applies.
or the other is to just turn it over to was it Jake LaTurner? State.
Unclaimed property.
Yeah.
But then we can't take that off our books. And so the purpose of it is to be able to, that law allows us to be able to
Want the money?
clear it and the money goes back into the county funds.
Yeah, it would go back into the county rather than, it would clear the books. It would just be less that amount. Because that amount actually is paid to that fund.
Okay.
So then they are responsible for trying to get it to those people.
Don't we want the money back in the county so we can use it?
Yeah, it just, in a legal, the reason why businesses do it, is it gets them out of all legal
Right.
issues. That, hey, your money's there, we never robbed you.
Okay, any other questions on that? We need a motion to
Yes.
approve. We'll need a motion then to,
I move that we approve.
okay. motion to-
Can you please say, like, if I just write your motion like that,
According to
Yeah.
KSA 10-815, outstanding checks over 2 years old be canceled.
okay, thank you.
Second.
Okay. Moved by Dave, seconded by John. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Details.
What's that?
Details.
Yes.
Have to be.
Just being right.
Okay, we do have encumbrances, so these are projects that have already been approved, but have not been paid yet, or purchases that have been ordered but have not yet been paid. And so those, because we committed to them during the current year, we pay for them from the current year's budget. So, I would need a motion and a vote to approve the encumbrances.
I would make a motion to approve the Health Department's Fund 130 separate.
Okay,
Just the health department?
Just that one for right now.
Is that the way you want them broke down?
that's fine.
Okay. Got a motion to approve the encumbrance for the health department that has been encumbered for 2019. You want something? Well, I'll second on that.
Second.
And that was a
Second by Randy.
purchase, that was a while back, right?
It was ordered probably in December, and we just don't have the invoice
Of
yet.
this year.
Yeah.
I don't know when it was ordered, I'm sorry, but it's something that has been ordered this year that has not been billed yet,
Using the budget.
yes.
Yeah.
So I don't know the date.
Okay.
Okay, motion on the table to approve the health department's encumbrances for 2019, seconded by Randy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Same.
So Dave, are you abstaining?
No,
No.
I'm sorry.
So you're approving it?
Yes.
That's for your own business?
Yeah.
Did you notice that? It's,
I thought you said just a health fund.
yeah, the health fund, and theirs is, the vendor is Western Associates. I think that's why Jonah made the motion the way
Oh,
he
okay.
did, so.
I'm staying, yes.
I'm giving you the opportunity to abstain from that one.
Okay.
I say the title's on top.
Okay.
Then I would
And-
make a motion to approve all the rest.
Which would include the courthouse, sheriff, and ambulance, and.
Transient guest
transient
tax.
guest tax.
I'll
Okay.
second.
Moved and seconded by Diane. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So I have a question for Tina on that. First one, you had 3 abstains, so how do you do that? I would like to
No,
see.
we had 2 abstain.
I thought he did.
I didn't abstain.
Oh, you did?
I made the
thought you
motion.
did.
He voted in
I
favor.
voted
Okay,
in
I'm
favor.
sorry, I'm
I was
sorry.
trying to,
Trying to help me.
yeah.
Okay, all right, got it.
Took a while though, didn't it? Avoid the confusion that still happens.
Yeah, my bad.
Thank you.
Okay. We have copy paper bids. It's for 100 cases.
Okay, we have 3 bids. Baker Brothers, which is a local firm, $34.75 per case, and then Navritz from Emporium Office Plus from Wichita at $34.50. In the past, when it's been a fairly close, we've tried to maintain business within the county, but it's up to the commission.
I'd like to make a motion, knowing that there's only a $25 difference overall, that we go with Baker Brothers Printing.
I'll second
Okay? It's been moved and seconded to accept the Baker Brothers Printing bid of $34.75 per case. Any other discussion? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So we did get another set of documents for the skid steer. And this is actual bank documents for that lease that you all approved. And so the paperwork was in your packet, and I have the original for signature.
I don't know that we've already taken action on it, haven't we?
Yes, I think the only thing that the board would probably do would be to take action to authorize the chairman to sign the document.
I'll make that motion to let the chairman sign the document.
Moved by Jonah, seconded by Randy for chairman's signature. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
How did everyone vote? Did you vote? Thank you.
Did we hear anything at all from Purple Wave on the sale of our old one yet? Do you know anything? I thought I'd seen something in these documents about you know, when that went to perfect way, has it been sold yet? Do you know?
I don't know when that sale closed.
Bid stopped
It
at
takes some
31.5.
time.
I'm sorry?
Bid stopped at 31.5.
Yeah, I watched it go out of my price range.
Oh, I see, okay.
Well, with a 10% buyer's fee, it made almost 35,000, but you don't get the buyer's fee for whoever purchased it.
Not too bad.
They hold their value. Yeah, it's Bobcat too. They hold their value really well.
Well, I bid 29.5 to make it 30,000 something, which is as much as far as I was going.
Yeah, when I bought mine 2 years
But
later.
with the buyer's premium, I was at 29,250, and it went on way past that.
I bought mine 2 years later. They came back to me and offered me $4,000 more to buy it.
Really?
That's a Bobcat.
Let's just hope they use the new one more than 6.5 hours a week.
I don't need to sign it, you want me to sign the copy?
Which is all they use the
No.
other one.
Having a little bit of hours, I mean, they don't
Huh?
hold this value real low.
6.5 hours a week, why do we even have them?
Thank you.
Okay, moving on.
Okay, I have several salary sheets. Some of these were things that we actually missed, and so we will be retro-paying some of them because they were due, but we didn't get them on the salary sheets for you to approve. So I've got those. And you can see which ones those are by the dates of the effective dates.
Okay, this first one's for Sheriff Matt Regier, new deputy sheriff, 6 month and 1 year raise at $17.02. The next one is for Road and Bridge, Kenneth Canoost, 10-year longevity, effective 7/21/19 from 26/31 to 26/80. The next one is Jeffrey Ginsel, Road Bridge, 5-year longevity from 28/29 to 28/84, effective 6/21/19. The next one is Dale Mellons, Road and Bridge, 10-year longevity from 26/36 to 26/80, effective 7/21/19. And the last one is Health Department, Aaron Hine, 1-year raise as part-time Safe Kids Coordinator and Child Care Surveyor from 16/25 to 16/50.
And then I do have one more salary sheet, and this is for my courthouse maintenance person. And I would like to do a manual adjustment. I would like to forego my 1% and apply that amount to the salary of this individual.
I think it's very becoming of Tina to do that for Michael Hurst. Even foregoing her 1%, I would ask the commission that we go ahead and give Tina her 1%. Any
So
discussion?
doesn't he get 1%?
She wouldn't be.
He
She's-
does. What I would like to do, because that is $20 a month. And so so it will not impact the budget, I would like my $45 a month to be added to that. So you would have a $65 per month increase. And I've given you the information there, and that will not affect the budget because you would have been paying me. So that's what I would like to do.
So he would basically be getting 2%,
Okay.
correct? His 1%.
Well, I didn't figure the percentage.
Okay.
He
It would be-
wouldn't get more.
It would be, yeah, it would be at least that. now figuring, but, my question is, I think that's awesome. So, I would like to do the same thing. I was gonna say, you know, I've said for a long time that the commission should take salary decreases. And I still am firm on that. So if the commission wishes not to take a salary decrease, then I'd like to have the flexibility as well to give some of my salary to some of the lower end employees as well.
Okay. Well, that's an item for further discussion when
And
we
I-
reorganize.
I will say that the position still needs further review, even if this is approved.
And, you know, we need to make our, if we have a pay plan, try to make that a priority coming into next year, so we can resolve some of these issues that we've had with different departments that have come in and asked for increase for this employee and that employee, and they're all legitimate. They've all been legitimate. So,
I think before we actually do it though, we need to get a set, I'm not sure statutorily if we can do that, and if we can, like I said, I would like to do the same thing. But the problem that I see in doing so, how's that ball gonna roll going down? I mean, I think by starting it, and I'm with you, Tina, 100%. But, and I never said anything prior to this before, other than that the commission needs to take a pay reduction. But I can almost just see all kinds of hurt feelings and problems going down the road. And I wouldn't wanna do that either, but I know there are several employees out there that, you know, I just know that, and this is where my heart was when we did all these pay raises to begin with, the people on the low end that really do a lot of hard work. And I would be happy to contribute a large portion of my pay to these people. So if we can do it, that's fine, I'll do it.
I think the commission as a whole needs to commit to looking at the pay structure to make sure that everyone is paid fairly. I'm requesting this as an annual increase for one employee that is under my supervision as an elected official, so.
And so that would say, that same thing you just said would fall under us as a commissioner to one of our employees. It would be the same thing.
So you employ the department head, so you're supervising them, so are you wanting to give to a department head?
To give to particular employees, yes.
Rick?
I think you're stepping way out of bounds. I think it's a great idea, but I don't think in trying to run the payroll correctly and run this, I can see, as Diane said, hurt feelings. I think we need to get back, again, address some of the lows, make sure that we got some people here for their job, make sure that they're getting fairly paid. And for people to start donating, I can see next month, I can see 10 of these come in. I'm
Well, we've seen that happen over the course of this year. That's why we need to make it a priority, that we get something in place that everybody knows where they're at, everybody knows where they're gonna go.
I'm talking about though what's happening right here. I'm not talking about just an employee supervisor coming in and asking for a raise. I'm talking about someone donating some of their raise to another person. I think that's what Diane's saying. If it's okay, well, then she's gonna do hers. How many more are we gonna have? I strictly, my vote would be no on that basis, but I'm just saying that you gotta have something scale here, and we need to address some of the things that we've talked about, whether, like, I think you voted, you said you'd like to do the whole pay increase to the plan. So I think with the new commission, we need to probably get square before we do start doing this kind of stuff, in my feelings.
Well, I certainly see where Tina's coming from, though. You know, we know what Mike does around here, and he's underpaid. There's no doubt about that. And, you know, even though he reports to Tina, he's kind of his own department, even though he's not a department head. But, well, what's the wishes of the commission?
I'm gonna agree with Randy.
I'd make a motion to that effect, that we do not allow, has it ever been done, Tina, that you know of, that we've done in the county?
When we had a raise a couple years ago, we had a county attorney that declined the raise and instead put it on an assistant, or to create an assistant position.
It's a little different.
That was creating a whole position. I guess I'd make a motion to not to deny that, but within 30 days, we address the pay
plan?
Pay plan, yeah.
Okay, can you restate your motion?
Make a motion to deny this, to voluntarily give up an employee's raise to another person, and within 30 days, we address the pay plan.
And the original COLA increase would stay the same for each employee?
Yes, yes.
Is that what you're stating?
Yes.
Okay. Any other discussion on that?
I find it very admirable, what you're doing, but, I gotta agree with Randy, I think, it's a
So is it
slippery
second?
slope, and, we need to address this person on their own merit.
Well, we need to address the whole pay plan as a priority going into next year.
And I like it, because it's a friend of mine trying to stay within budget and put it somewhere else.
Yes.
I really agree with that mentality. It's just, I don't think we wanna open up that slippery slope.
Well, we're blessed we have employees that have empathy.
Yes, yes.
They're not just looking out for themselves. So
Mhm.
that doesn't happen in very many businesses. As two business owners can assert. So, okay, are you seconding that? Oh, Diane seconded it. So the motion's been made by Randy and seconded by Diane to forego any of the additional COLA and leave the 1% in place for both Mike and Tina. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. 4-1.
That was all I had, Brenda.
Anything else on administrative?
No, that's it.
Okay. Next item on the agenda, county tourism bus, Mr. Beneke.
I'd let Rob go first if he wants to,
No, Rob's on the agenda after you.
but he can go ahead of me if he wants to.
Not legally.
You're set on the agenda, so go ahead.
Okay, make it quick.
Can everybody hear Mike from there, or should we have him go up to Mike? Do you want Mike to get up there go up to the mic? Mike, go to the mic.
Mike, go to the mic.
Need that wireless mic.
Handicap. Even going back to MCC DC days, we talked about the bus wasn't being utilized other than having the light tour at the lake the last 3 or 4 years. As a new business owner in Marion, there is a basically new Marion Merchants Association that we formed. I think Tammy has been in here and collected some of the transient tax money for projects, especially for our city. The utilization of the bus, whether we would, I guess I've talked to 3 of our commissioners individually prior to today, and in the past. Before we spend much time in evaluating what the bus could do, what it would cost to take it over, tag it, insure it, can we use it to transport people, or is it out of our budget to do something? We want to make sure that if it was given to us, I mean, do we need a specific organization if you gave it to us? I mean, it's been discussed in the past. But something, my personal thought is using it for a mobile, either backboard or billboard, where whether it's Art in the Park, 4th of July, Labor Day at Florence, can we put posters or banners or signs, park at different highways prior to these events to draw attention to any event within our county, promote tourism. A big one in Council Grove and Morris County is Washunga Days. Can we park it over there? I have our medicine man lives right there on 56 on the west edge of town. He would allow us to set it right up against the fence for a day or two. Could we even man it at some of these events with brochures or something if we had volunteers? I think it'd be a very effective, cheap way to promote any activities, community events, Oktoberfest. It's big enough to see it from a distance. If you make some vinyl banners, they're pretty susceptible to wind damage, yet you can just stick a magnet with a bolt and fasten your banner to it of any size. It should just stick to the side of it. Just a cheap way to make a mobile billboard. As a one permanent billboard, it might cost you hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars. I mean, what better way could we promote our events, Gospel Threshing Days? Can we take it to the RV show or the boat and travel show, and it would sit in the parking lot and draw attention? So that's the thought I had. What I know of transporting people without a chauffeur's license, first aid certified, CPR certified, you know, and insurance wise, I think it gets pretty cost prohibitive. If your church group wants to do it, I think there's probably, but I mean, before we spend much time exploring costs and opportunities, I guess I would like just a commitment that if we need a specific organization that it is given to run with it and do, I mean, or a more formal presentation. I would like to say 30 days that we move forward as our group to see what we can do to utilize it, and then make a formal presentation at that time, and just your consensus that if we come up with something adequate, if you have suggestions of what you would like to see done with it or how it's done, you know, we can make that in a, you know, more uniform proposal so that maybe the city of Hillsborough doesn't come back and say, well, why'd you give it to the business owners of the city of Marion, or vice versa. So I mean, it could be conflict either way. Or you put it on Purple Wave and do away with it. I mean, it was brought up that Bryce didn't really care to be in charge of it anymore. And it sits up there around Road and Bridge taking up space, or somebody will back into it someday and cause more damage to something else when it's sitting in the way. So just the first step of how we would make a transition and possibly do something good with it, rather than just let it set up the county shop right down somewhere.
So would your proposal include transfer of title?
That's what I would assume you guys would want, that you would be free from any responsibility with what we do from that point on.
And if that would be owned by, say, Marion Merchants Association,
I mean,
could there be some type of agreement with the other communities that can be used countywide, you know, even though the ownership is titled that way?
the only way I know to feasibly get the insurance to nothing is, I mean, I have over $1 million blanket policy on my farm operation. But I don't want that I title it in my name, insured, and then somebody says, well, why did Mike Lineker got given that? Well, then you take the project on
They can sue you too.
huh?
They can sue you. You know,
But I mean, again, in a simple accident, I mean, I think it goes to at least 2 to 3 million top site coverage and $1 million minimum. And not too many people carry that, anywhere close to that. Yes, am I sticking my neck out a little bit? Probably. But I mean, if I just make it a farm vehicle and we don't really transport for pay is the key. When you transport for pay. And there comes a whole new set of rules, even Just my CDL won't pass without first aid, CPR certifications, like the bus drivers do. And, you know, you'll need another, what's on your, addition to your, what is it?
Passenger endorsement.
Endorsement on your CDLs.
Class B. Or Class B.
No, it's strictly bus.
Yep.
It's a bus
The
endorsement.
Class B, depending on the GBR, that.
I mean, your CD, I mean, my CDL would qualify, but I would have to have the bus endorsement and then the training that comes with that endorsement.
It's been sitting around for 15 years probably.
I don't know what it was
Because my
purchased,
wife-
it's a 90 model. is what
Yeah, my
it
wife
is.
got it painted. So 15 years ago, they was on a committee to do this. They were gonna have tours for the Flint Hills. I think they might have done 1 or 2 tours. Because 1, you can't find the driver to drive the bus. 2, you got maintenance insurance. So I think it's a good.
Once it's floor higher, it changes
I
things.
think it's good in theory. You know, this is, the chamber had it. It was a
Yeah.
chamber project. But I think
I mean,
you're wasting your time and your money be better spent doing something else, trying to keep the bus up. And it's gonna cost you $1,000 a year just to keep it sitting on someplace.
so that's where rather than use it for transportation, I think the mobile billboard
But
would
still,
be a good thing.
It's time to cut it loose, get rid of it.
So I'm here to see what your consensus are.
You have something, Randy?
Yeah, the day that we mentioned that, we mentioned City of Marion, Hillsborough. Has anybody went any further than that, talking to either one of those towns?
I sent something to both of the economic development directors.
Okay.
And I didn't hear anything back from Hillsborough. I did hear back from Marion. What they said was, well, I don't think it's in very good condition. Can we have a mechanic check it out? And we had it at our, I mean, so I didn't really respond to that. I figure if the board wants to give it to an organization, so be it, then they can take the risk on with it. But the one thing I do want to mention is I don't believe, since it's owned by a government agency, which is the county, I don't think the county can just give it to private businesses or citizens. I think that if you're gonna go that direction, you probably would be better off listing it for sale, and anybody that wants to bid on it can. I believe you can offer it to other governing bodies or government agencies, but I don't believe you can. I think it's a legal question to check with Brad before you would take any action to transfer it to any private citizens or businesses.
It'd be nice to know if it's like a non-profit, you'd own it.
Potentially, maybe you could, but I know you couldn't.
Well, we just didn't want to invest too much time and resources until we knew what could or couldn't be done, and where we would take it in the final presentation if we got to.
But I think your idea is of a big banner holder that catches attention, that would certainly work for that.
I mean, whether we went to the state fair and just parked it in the parking lot.
Yeah, otherwise
People
money.
would walk by.
You're probably gonna have to pay a
We don't
parking
have to
fee
pay the
somewhere,
booth
but
space.
still.
I guess we would have parking probably.
You know, but a
I
lot,
think
like a lot of.
you'd have expense in the creating of the magnetic banners and so forth, because you wouldn't want to just use like poster board and marker. You'd want it
These
to
magnets are
look,
about this big around and they'll stick down.
you'd want something professionally done if you're promoting your businesses.
We couldn't just use spray paint on the side.
I know some good tag artists.
Or a good railroad yard.
And one other thing too, that,
All them kids that painted over at Hillsborough, the county's equipment here a while back, let's get them to paint.
there's also on the side of the bus, the website that's listed there is defunct. I mean, it's not an active website anymore, so you'd want to, if you're gonna be hauling that thing around, you wouldn't wanna be
Just
having that
gotta-
website on the side of it.
Repaint the bus.
As it stands now, though, is any organization could approach and ask to use it, right?
Yes, there are some like guidelines of the bus and rules of the bus that we've just kind of see, that was part of the economic development department, and so since we still have the bus, we still have some of those forms, and we still have let individuals utilize it and follow those rules. However, we have to insure it, and it does take up space. Most of the year, we take the battery out because we don't want to be replacing batteries and all of that all the time, and so,
But if we listed it on Purple Wave, anybody could buy it,
that's true.
you know, and conceivably, that's not gonna be a high dollar item by any means.
You'd have to have no reserve for sure.
Yeah.
The, I guess my thoughts to you would be, knowing that it is available, why don't you trial run it before you go all in and,
You know, Tom pretty much, drove it. The question was something about they couldn't get it in gear, or jumped out of gear, and I think it was operator.
That was on the last tour?
Yep. Well,
I mean, if you got some sort of.
it's an old standard, how many people, I mean, I've got some, but I don't care, I don't like to drive as much.
Get the double clutch in them.
Cruise control.
Well, it'd be nice to
I
see.
mean, it'd be nice even for our other tours would be to take the seats loose, put them down the middle, facing out both ways, reconfiguration and stuff, so it's not very expensive.
Well, I'd like to see somebody use it.
Right.
I don't think we need to be looking at a major overhaul.
Like I said, I talked to Kent, Randy, and Diane in the past, even before today, and a couple of times over the last couple of times, several months ago, when it was, well, come up with a use for it, we would consider giving it to somebody, and now we're here to the point where we got some interest, yet we gotta figure out, get into government, it complicates things, of what's legal and what's not, type of thing, and that somebody, City of Gossel doesn't get offended, but yet if we put this together, we can go promote their threshing days. I mean, whether we park on 15 north of Hillsborough to 50 to I-35, and get the word out that it's, you know, the week before, so, and be pretty minimal to just move it around different places.
And what we do, we need to get rid of the website off of there, even before we get rid of it. I mean, we need to get rid of it, do that.
Yeah, but if we sold it on Purple Wave, we wouldn't have to.
Well, what if they set it out there and you see the website?
Well,
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
but usually, like if you sell a police car or anything, you usually get the police off of it and that kind of stuff. And,
Well, it could just be taken,
yeah,
so.
it can be painted, it ain't gonna be a big deal, but I just think.
I mean, just a couple cans of spray paint.
And my response to Mike when I had the conversation a little while back with him was, I would have no problem donating it to him or his organization or whatever, as long as, like Kent said, it's theirs. We're completely out of it. We don't have no responsibility, obligation, commitment, nothing. What they do with it then is up to them.
Some way, somehow.
However the county can or can't, or whatever we have to do, I would have no objection as long as we're out of whatever they do.
I mean,
No
we would like to
involvement.
explore it over and say, maybe this, you know, if we would proceed, then we would have a final, say, 30 days, we say, well, it's not gonna work for us. Or, you know, if you set some guidelines that we gotta meet to take it over, then we would try to meet or something, and make it a formal presentation at that time.
so is your Merchants Association a formal organization at this point?
On their website.
I don't think they're registered as a corporation or anything. I think it's
Well, we don't
just,
have any due or.
it's a group of people that gets together.
Does it operate under the city of Marion then?
No, it's just a bunch of people that meet once a month.
Yeah, so it'd be kind of hard to transfer it to Marion Merchants Association.
It
It's
just
city
depends,
way the
depends
chamber.
whoever wants to title it and tag it. I mean, the titling comes down to whoever be responsible for the taxes.
Well, any way we do it, I'd like to see it get utilized, and we don't need it.
I mean, as far as something was, we would, what Tammy and I think Angie Hansen considers on some Chisholm Trail tours or something, what would be the most practical would be like a 12-passenger, I guess it's more than a ton and a quarter chassis or something, I think. Christian Church just bought one similar, one 454 chassis with a handicap, so as far as, we don't know where the Father Capon thing will be in time, but, you know, occasionally they get 2 tour buses full of people to show up, and parish cooks the meal for them and tours it through that. There could be smaller ones done if we hosted them here in town overnight, took them out, or took them to the next day or something. So there's endless possibilities if somebody wants to put some effort into it.
So could you come back with us with a entity that we could transfer that to legally?
I mean, I'm just saying 30 or 45 days, whatever it takes to check legal statuses and stuff too.
Yeah, that's fine.
We would meet next, again, this Monday at.
It's not
at
going
opening,
anywhere,
and
we're paying
we discuss
insurance on it.
So, like I said, we're just here on the first step of what we can, can't do. Like I said, the government side of the changes is I can gift it to somebody for $1 on the private side, everything's legal. Or at least I did the straw building.
All I care about is you come to us and say, we'd like to have it, and this is who we transfer it to, and we can legally transfer it.
Right.
And if that's the consensus and you wouldn't change your mind, then we would proceed on seeing if that's what we can or wanna do.
Does that suffice for the commission? Randy's shaking his head.
Again, I agree with what Mike's saying, have no problem with that. How about 45 days, do we have any registered groups that comes in that's interested in taking ownership, put their application in for it?
Nothing wrong with
Yeah. And
Some
what their
type
intent to
of
use it for
announcement.
would
What
be-
their intent to use it for is.
would be part of the, rather than a dollar amount,
Yeah.
that's,
I'm not too concerned about dollar amount, is anybody? You know,
I
if we
think
put it on Purple Wave, we might get a few $100s and then have to pay the commission on it. You know?
I think the commission's interested in getting rid of it and finding a good place for it to go.
Yeah, it can be utilized, it needs to be.
So that way, everybody has a chance, Mike, same chance
Well,
as
that's
you
what I'm
have.
saying.
Yeah,
I mean, we don't want a decision today, but
right.
some type of commitment that we would take a serious look and then not be told, oh, we've changed our mind and we're not going to
Right.
give it to somebody.
Right.
Okay, is it the consensus of commission then to move forward to,
Let any organization within the county apply
apply for that if they're declared a legal entity and we can transfer to?
And their, as Jonas said, their intent to do so, whatever intent to do with it.
yeah, it'll be chosen based on what the
I don't know
commission
if we
feels
need
is
to-
the best
Do we need to
intent.
make a motion to that effect?
Probably, but I'm wondering if maybe, we could start the 45 days, like if we put a statement together and have Brad look at it,
Yeah.
and then once you approve
Oh, yeah.
that, start the 45 days at that point,
I mean,
and then we can put it out in the media.
Maybe we can do that next week possibly.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
I mean, that's your
I'd say that's a good
intention,
strategy. to
but I think it would be
let
better if
everybody
we
move
have
forward with it.
legal advice.
Okay,
Okay.
That way Rob can stop us and write us tickets if something ain't right.
that suffice with you, Mike?
I'm good with it, just like I'm here as kind of our group and as an individual to see what we can or can't do.
Okay.
And move forward from there.
Okay, very good. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Mayor.
See y'all. And I wanna know who's working on their New Year's resolution as a commissioner.
What's that? Thanks, Mike.
See y'all.
Okay, Robert.
Thank you. I'm going, I spoke with Tina a while back. This came up last year, at this very same time, and it kind of lost footing, lost traction. I don't know, somewhere it got, nothing occurred. And what I'm talking about is the part-time personnel holiday pay that was brought up last December, because I end up with the same thing year in and year out. Basically over Christmas and Thanksgiving, where my guys want some vacation during that time. So my option is to put somebody else in my schedule on there, which then puts them into an overtime bracket plus holiday pay, which gets very expensive,
Double time.
double time and a half by doing so, because I have to fill those shifts. What I'm suggesting is, it's easier to find part-time personnel to work the holiday if they will get the holiday pay. For $10 or $12, they're not really anxious to give up their Christmas with their family. But time and a half makes it a little more enticing. And so I guess that's where I'm at.
Right, and in Marion, I can give you a little background, because in Marion County, we have always just paid part-time at straight time, even on holiday. And, so last year, I think that, well, I have the minutes from when it was discussed the last time, and what was done, or the last time it was discussed, I don't remember if it was last year, but
It was right
it
about
was,
the same time.
but basically, I think that the commission voted to give those people a gift card after the fact, and then the county councilor said, at the time said, no, we can't do that with wages. So they went ahead and paid them a dollar amount. But I really don't see, I think that it's very common, and probably just about everywhere, that part-time individuals that work hourly, if they work a holiday, they would get, I mean, no matter who it is, should be getting time and a half.
Right,
So it's just a policy, it's a pay policy change, I think that the county should be looking at seriously.
Rob, do you have an overall ballpark as far as what that would do to your yearly budget? I mean,
I could tell you one person, one day is $228.
and
It's,
four,
and that was just time and a half plus holiday. Which
You're
is
talking
holiday
about for your full-time person.
For a full-time person, the difference between the full-time person that I'm gonna have to pay and I just took time and a half versus double time and a half, so it's probably gonna be more than that.
So if you look at like a person that is, what hourly rate, Rob?
I just
For a
took
part-time
the low
person?
end, the $12.
So if you take, so that'd be 18 at time and a half, right?
but you'd be paying
Right.
full time because it's holiday, so it'd be
For
24.
a big holiday plus the overtime, because
Right.
they are.
Part-time.
Oh, part-time, no.
No.
Just holiday.
We would
Part-time
just
would be
pay-
just be $24.
Right.
Well, he's just talking about doing time and a half for a part-time,
Right.
which would be $18 an hour on a
Okay.
$12 an hour person. So a 10-hour shift, you've got an increase of $60. Do you see?
Versus an increase
So
of
you're
$200.
talking $180, so it's actually a savings of $20 versus using your full-time
No.
employees.
No.
The 228. Because if I've got a regular person, 12 hours, I took $18, because that's kind of
Okay.
the low end starting, 1750 basically is the starting, but they get to 18. That's their regular pay. So 12 hours, with 12-hour shifts, that's 18. Then you time and a half that for their overtime, and you throw on the holiday pay. I mean, it's a big amount.
Right.
Versus a $12
Yeah.
an hour for a 12-hour shift.
And you're just
And
doing
time and a
double
half.
time.
Doing
We're
time and a
doing
half.
time and a half, not
That's
double.
18. So you're basically at 18 and 18, the dollar amount the same to start, but you're ending here and you're just starting there.
Right.
So your time and a half plus the holiday, you increase it quite a bit. And it becomes much easier to find somebody that's willing to give up their Christmas with their family. It's a little more, and don't get me wrong, enticing, I mean, I've got great part-time personnel. Don't get me wrong, but sometimes they kind of, well, their wife says, or spouse says, you know, for this kind of money, I think I'd rather have you home for Christmas or Thanksgiving.
Right.
But we make that a little more enticing, it makes it easier.
See, personally for me, I don't draw a distinction between the part-time and the full-time people. If the part-time person is qualified,
They are exactly
then
qualified.
why should they be
can
despaired
certify.
not getting holiday pay? I mean, I find that to be kind of an oxymoron there, and I really think that it just should be a policy that we make for our part-time people. I did try to go back, I remember talking about it when I seen it on the agenda the other day, and I tried to go back into the minutes, and I thought, oh, well, we discussed this last year, but I couldn't find it.
Yeah, I remember
Okay.
the
But,
gift card, and then that was after the
I do
fact.
remember that now too, but,
Isn't it a requirement to pay double time on a holiday though?
No,
No.
it's not.
but I just think it's something that we should just do to all of our part-time people, and like I say, the qualifications are there, why would we not do that?
They're quality people, they're certified,
Sure.
they're full law enforcement certified, so they can do anything. They just don't have the full-time certification, they have the part-time certification, which gives them people.
I'm okay with it.
Randy?
What happens, Rob, when you make the schedule out first of the year, next year, and the same people are on next holidays, the next Christmas holidays? Do they automatically say, oh, I don't want to work?
No.
I mean,
It varies year to year, there's no one person that always says, I want Christmas off or Thanksgiving. It depends on, much like with most people, what's going on in their world and their family and their time at this time. It might be this person that would like to have vacation this week, this year, next year it might be somebody else. There's no one person that dominates that.
Most places I know of, the person gets a Thanksgiving, so then they work Christmas.
You switch around.
They go back and forth every year.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's why I'm having trouble seeing what your problem is with why people are, oh, I got holidays. I mean, when I take a job, I mean.
I agree, but
Yeah.
they're not bemoaning the holiday,
Oh.
but they're just wanting some vacation. And they have vacation. Can I deny it just because it's a holiday? I suppose I could. Is that really ethical, moral?
Why should you
I
have
don't
to?
know.
It's not a good PR.
Yeah.
No. So,
And I work in different situations then, because somebody has to be on duty.
Correct.
And somebody has to be there.
now, if I can't find anybody else to work, yes,
Okay.
then we're back to square one, and I'm sorry that this is the way it is.
Yeah.
But when I throw it out there, okay, this person is requesting vacation, I need to fill this shift, are there any volunteers?
Yeah.
Okay, and I throw it out to the part-time first, and if it happens,
Yeah.
great, if it doesn't, then I have to pull somebody and put them in an extra shift.
But I
Some
don't think,
might, some don't.
if I was at person A and drew Thanksgiving and Christmas days, that next year maybe I ought to be on the bottom of the list, the last one you call, or something to that effect, I
Right,
mean, always,
I'll put it out for volunteers first and say, hey, and then I look at, okay, what's this shift that I'm trying to cover, day shift or night shift? I can't put a guy on a day shift following a night shift that he worked the night before, so that limits me to just a couple of people instead of, there's a lot of dynamics there that you have to take into consideration. So, no, we get through it, it's just, I think it's important to our part-time personnel to assist them, because they do put in a lot of extra, and they are,
I think,
most of the time, more than willing to step up and when the time comes and fill a spot.
and I think how many years I put in as a part-time person, and I understand that one wholeheartedly, because that's who City of Peabody would call to do the same thing as what you're doing here with the county. And yeah, I've heard that from the wife. You're going out for, at that time, $6, $7 an hour. Back in those days, less than that, even $4 an hour, back in early days. But I'm just saying that, yeah, and I didn't mind doing it, but I never even thought about getting overtime. I mean, I just never thought about it, so,
Well, and,
yeah.
It's a different world now.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think it's good to clarify the policy, and so everybody knows exactly, okay, I'm gonna get this if I have to work all.
Right, and it makes it more enticing for him to find somebody, because
well,
in a situation you need somebody.
4 part-time guys
Yes.
and say, hey, I've got an opening on this day.
Mhm.
And instead of having one, say, okay, now I might get 2 people.
Yeah, I'm not gonna argue the point there, I understand wholeheartedly. My problem was, if a full-time person has that job and they draw that day, are you automatically getting turn down, say, well, I don't want to work that day?
No, no,
Okay.
it doesn't happen.
Okay.
That never happens, it happens, you know, if they have a need for vacation, that they want to do vacation at their families in Missouri or somewhere.
And actually, you know, if I'm not mistaken, I attended enough classes to learn this, that your department, you deal with the public safety and health, and by statute, you don't have to ask us for this. You can hire your people and you can do this, and I appreciate you trying to
Yes.
work with us on that,
But I wanna go through you.
I got that, but nonetheless, with it being the department that it is, and your people are 24-hour shifts or whatever it is that they work, especially these type of things, I just think that it's something that we need to do.
I think no matter what the case is, I like the fact that you're trying to find part-time people to work the holidays, because then it's a cost savings versus a full-time. It's a no-brainer, it's genius. But if you're gonna work a holiday, you should be compensated. I mean,
Well, like Rob was saying, he's blessed to have some good part-time employees, and they need to be compensated for what they're asked to do by working those holidays.
And actually, part-time employees always kind of get pushed aside, and that's kind of a nuisance when you're a part-time person, because you're called on the spur, or short notice, or when nobody else wants to work holidays, so you always kind of get the scraps or whatever, so I really think that we should maybe not disregard, or take for granted, let me just say, take for granted our part-time people.
but usually in a part-time position, you're always looking to make full-time one day. So
Sure,
So you're eager to perform.
yeah.
So sometimes, but not so much in my case.
Right.
One's retired, one's had a full-time job that he's not gonna change, and, so they, two of them do, so. But they're very, very good employees, and
Plus, and it's an incentive to maybe get some more part-time. I mean, the more part-time you have, the better.
I actually would really like to see the board set a policy that part-time hourly people are paid time and a half for holidays. As a policy, blanket policy.
So then you have, now since it's been different since in the last few years, now you have a full-time ambulance service. And so let's pass the buck right on down the road. It goes right on down the road. So, I mean, we don't just say just because sheriffs and stuff like that, so, and then, I'm just saying that we don't set a policy for just one.
Right.
Would that be a pretty relative, situation where they're part-time people in EMS would be?
There are a few.
Would be a cost savings versus a full-time on a
Yes.
holiday?
Are they
It depends on how long their shift is and how long the
Their
overtime or
schedules
the
are
time and a half
different.
period is.
Is their time and a half start after 8, or does it start after 40?
Well, I'm not talking about overtime. I'm talking just on the holiday pay.
About holidays.
Yeah.
That's, so I don't know how it's gonna affect that department either, but
Well,
it's.
it could affect EMS, it actually could affect road and bridge
Oh.
in the middle of a storm.
They get comp time, don't they?
Well, if we have part-time people that are paid hourly, which we generally in Road and Bridge, we only have
I was gonna
a
say,
very few or
very few
just during the
part-time. I was
summer.
gonna say, we would never remain that road and bridge.
Yeah.
I guess I still stand, and I think anybody that works on holiday should be compensated. That's just how I feel.
You wanna make that a motion?
not so moved, think about it. Say it.
I'd like to make a motion that any part-time employee that works the holiday gets paid time and a half.
Good.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? Been moved by Jonah, seconded by Dave, to compensate part-time employees at time and a half for holiday pay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5-0.
Okay.
thank you very much.
Before you go, can I ask you a question?
Hmm?
So this has come, I've had several people in my area, I live in the northern part, that's my district too. And we have little towns up there that are really trying hard to clean up their little towns. And we all know that Marion and other counties have got drug problems. And a lot of times out in the country and stuff, you have old farmsteads and stuff, but are still private property. And you have people going on those properties, helping themselves to things, stealing and so on. And so it's come to my attention multiple times that maybe Marion County is not being quite as forceful or proactive, shall I say, in addressing some of these crimes, I'm gonna call them, or things in the sheriff's department. Is there something that I can relay or help? Because I mean, like okay, I'll say now, Ramona has been very voiceful on this and hold back nothing. They've been really working hard to clean that town up, and we know there's drugs out there. We know where other places, probably know who the people are, I don't know. It's not anybody I keep company with, but I don't understand why we don't take care of the problem. How do I say that? I mean, how much does it have to slap us in the face? I mean, I'm just asking you, because this is my opportunity to talk to you about this.
Criminals have rights.
Let's hope not.
But they do, that's the sad part of it.
Yes,
But, okay, but they have rights, once you arrest them, then you have to abide by their rights. But while they're breaking the law, do they still have rights to break the law? Or do things like this?
they don't have right to break the
They're
law,
invading somebody else's
but
right.
they have their limitations as far as what I am permitted to do. As far as search and seizure, things like that. I know the place you're talking about, we spent a week monitoring that from a house there. So what we didn't have enough with cameras and videos to get a search warrant. That's where trouble lies, is what it takes for me to get a search warrant to go into that
Really?
particular place that I believe you're discussing. Had been difficult to get. We
It's
had
crazy, isn't it?
spent a lot of time.
Isn't it frustrating?
It is very
It has to be
frustrating.
frustrating from your point, I mean,
It is very frustrating. We, honestly, traffic stops is the way we have been able to deal mostly with that problem. We got 3 grabs here a few weeks ago from 3 people. We got another bunch the other day. But we're actively working on it. And the ability to gather enough evidence to get a search warrant is somewhat difficult.
Is a search warrant issued from the county attorney's
Judge signs off on it. We make application based upon the information that we have gathered, and there has to be enough to convince the judge that we have personal knowledge, not belief, knowledge.
oh,
Either see or a
that doggy tell you?
The dog can tell, but I can't just run a dog around your property.
Doggone it.
It's not permitted. So there are constraints on what I can and can't do. Not saying it's not possible, it's difficult. But we're actively working on it.
Well, I'm just pointing it out, if it's brought to my attention over
Yeah,
and over and over and over
it's
again.
one of those-
And so, and I realize the struggle that we have in the county to clean the county, and it's not just Ramona, I mean, it's all over the county, but I'm just
It's the whole
saying.
world right now.
It is, it is. And
In Kansas and everywhere, many people have gone that route.
Yeah,
And it just more and more the whole time, and it's just increasing, and then it's increasing or legalizing some further stuff, I think just entices it more, so I think we're just building that way. But no, we're actively working on it. And we'll always continue to do so. That's not
well,
the issue.
I appreciate you answering that, because I never had an answer,
Yeah.
you know?
And I know I can't say everything that we do.
Sure, sure.
Get rid of trade secrets, huh?
So I can't tell you maybe how we're working on it.
No, that's fine, I just, You just hear it all the time, and you see it all the time, and it's like all
People are
around
afraid.
us, and it's getting worse and worse and worse, and
People are frustrated, it is getting worse.
it is,
People,
and it's destroying our
that
families and
culture
our kids.
is
and-
just expanding and expanding and
Yeah.
expanding and I can't arrest us out of that culture. Education is the only way, and abstinence is, I can't arrest enough people to prevent that culture. We can't house enough people to prevent that culture. Education.
That was where he said it.
Yeah.
And
And we need to build a bigger
training,
ship.
opportunities for work and just a different lifestyle for many of these people, is the only way. I can't.
So it just falls back to society, in the back of society, basically.
I don't want.
I mean, it's just the way the world is.
Society is more acceptable, I guess, in that maybe, I don't say it's a generational thing, but in a group. It's bad everywhere, and we will actively pursue it and actively do what we legally can.
Sure.
Always.
Well, good. Thanks for answering the question.
It's supposed to be hard, because you don't want somebody that's doing nothing wrong to have their Fourth Amendment infringed upon. It needs to be to where you can't bully, because once you start opening those floodgates and those doors, then all of a sudden you can sick people on other people and start playing politics with real people that do nothing wrong.
Extremely bad.
Yeah.
Quickly, depending on the person, but no, there are a lot of search and seizure issues and things. I would say right now, our canine, we've lost our canine handler. We're in the process of refilling that. The canine is getting retrained to a new handler. So in a few weeks, that will be back out on the street, which can help.
See, I just, the way that things have changed, and I know it's just, again, probably my age showing, but I know you're innocent until proven guilty, I got it, but when I read things in the paper or whatever, certain papers that I read, that, so you have all these pictures, they're caught with these drugs and all the, whatever the case may be, weapons, whatever, and then they're out on the street.
But that's,
It just,
you know,
like,
mine,
okay.
it doesn't.
That goes down to the judicial process.
Yeah.
That's a frustration to the department.
We live with that, but like Mr. Gehring says, it is extremely important that we don't violate rules of law to make this, because where does that stop? We've lost sight of what we are. We believe morally and ethically is how we will operate. And let's do everything legally, morally, and ethically that we can to curtail any illegal activity, whatever.
I just wish they'd give the sheriff's department the same authority that TSA has. No, right, I mean,
You have no rights to.
try to come back into the United States from a foreign country and see what you go through.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I can go to Mexico and walk across the border. I can't go through the terminal in Dallas, Texas without TSA checking me probably almost a half a dozen times. One time with a dog.
Oh, see, there, that's.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Remind me not to go fly over here.
Yeah, if you're
I'll walk
innocent,
right
see,
through.
it's true. If you're innocent, you don't have any.
Well, we kind of got off the thank you.
No, it is, there are legal guidelines, and I have to operate in those legal guidelines, and always will. I wish some of them were a little more lenient and a little more flexible, they're not. They are what they are, and that's what we have to live with. Knowing in my head that this is taking place at some location doesn't give me the authority to enter that location just based upon that, unless I see or have evidence to present of the I know what's happening.
Yeah, just by doing that, your word carries more weight when anybody has the chance to question whether your motives or whatever you did.
I have to have something supporting that belief.
Okay.
System.
Thank you for
Diane,
that. Thank you.
Diane,
Yes.
it took them 2 months to catch people in my neighborhood. And it was just done kind of by accident, by a traffic stop, like you said. They've been watching my neighborhood for 2 months. And I live in a nice place, I thought.
Yeah, and I did
Yeah.
traffic stop on,
Yeah. Mhm.
It can,
Thank you,
it can
Rob.
happen anywhere.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yep, thank you very much.
Have a good New Year.
Well, that was our last agenda item, and since we do have a regular agenda today, other than just payroll, I will open it up to citizen concerns. So,
Guess
anyone
it's
have
just me, huh?
It left.
You're the only one left.
Okay, well,
Say
I'm,
something good.
oh, well, it might be, I don't know. I was gonna ask about the application for the planning and zoning. They've got a pledge at the bottom of that. I don't know if you guys got it.
I do have
I'm really
it here.
uncomfortable with that. I think that, I don't know who put that on there, but can you read that?
Yeah, I have it here, and I was gonna bring it up, but I was gonna wait for my turn. So at the bottom it says, will you in good faith make decisions based, oh no, that's the wrong one, I'm so sorry. Do you pledge to speak positively and constructively about Marion County as a whole and not slander the county, its employees, or elected officials? And I agree with Tom and others that I have spoken to about this. I just think that needs to come off of there because you're talking about volunteers. And I don't want to take anybody's, like you said, First Amendment rights to speak. Not that anybody's gonna, slander anybody in the, surely I would appoint somebody that I would think would do that.
If it's true, it's not slander too, so.
I'm sorry?
They tell me if it's true, that's not slander, so.
Well, I'm just saying, I just think it's an inappropriate thing to put on the bottom of that when it's looking to have somebody volunteer for something. I'm just gonna ask we remove that bottom statement, and Tom, I was gonna bring it up, I had others meant the same thing, so I was gonna leave my turn like I said. I just think it's an unnecessary thing, I just think it's rather intimidating. I did show it to somebody that I was going to, that has volunteered to help and stuff like that, and they read it, because they were filling it out and stuff, and brought to my attention, it's like, are you kidding me? And I never read it
That's what I
to
thought.
that point.
You put that on there.
And I'm like, okay, let me see what does it say. And so, yeah, I did say I would bring that up and see if we can just have that removed from that application. And I will,
Why is it so bad to have that on there?
well, I didn't say that
it's a
it was
good thing.
bad, I'm saying that it's unnecessary, and I just think that it kind of, to me, so it's telling me that I cannot, okay, so sometimes you can get into a conversation like we do a lot of times, sometimes a heated debate. So could that be somebody could say, well, you're slandering that person, or you're this, or you're that, when it's actually, because everybody, gets offended, you have under the First Amendment, you have the right to be offended, but then they're gonna, okay, well, you signed a document saying you wouldn't do that, I mean, so you can take it off of both sides of the gamut there, I just don't think it's necessary. Why would it be necessary?
So you won't go on
Just like
social
some-
media, I guess.
I'm sorry?
So you won't go on social media and slander another member
That
of the
doesn't say
committee?
social media, sir,
I know,
I'm just
but
saying what it does,
that's
I'm
right.
just reading
We're all
what it
against social media
says.
anyways.
It encompasses everything,
But you're the
what he's
minority.
trying to say.
How do you know I'm the minority?
But, okay, so I think you're also infringing on people's rights there,
Well, I think
I do, I just think it,
if,
I don't know why you have to pledge anything
yeah.
and sign
I
it
mean,
too. That makes
when
it
you get
worse.
into planning and zoning, or even in a commission, you get into, you're talking about every subject under the sun. And everybody is passionate about their own things, and, you might say some things that, intentionally meant well, but somebody's gonna get upset by it and all this, and I don't wanna stifle anybody's thoughts or their ability to bring up controversy. I mean, it could be controversial, and I don't wanna stifle anybody from bringing things like that up, or feel intimidated that they can't bring it up or discuss it. Everybody knows I bring all kinds of stuff up to the commission, controversial and otherwise, and I say what I wanna say. I wouldn't take a pledge like this. You're silencing me, in essence, is what that comes down, and I don't like that. I just don't think it's necessary. Not that it's bad, I just don't think it's necessary. Yeah,
Here,
okay.
baby.
I just wondered.
And I will also add to that, that I did talk to Brad, about different things, and next Monday, I was gonna say, about putting it on the agenda. The appointments should be made, for those who have appointments to make for planning and zoning, should be made next Monday.
If we have no commitments yet.
If you have an appointment to make, I can put that on the agenda.
Okay, I do, so yeah. But Brad had said that, that, because of the timing, that we should go ahead and get it cleared up. I was talking to him about different things about, the procedure and stuff like that, and he had said about coming in today, but then at the time I spoke to him, I was thinking there wasn't gonna be much on the agenda, and that's good that it's not.
Is that
So he
something
said it
that we
would be
need
next
to
Monday.
address with Brad about whether to leave that in, take it out?
Well, it's not a legal question, I mean, there's nothing illegal about it. I'm just saying, I just don't know that it's
Intimidating.
necessary.
It's just basically a personal opinion, I guess. I don't.
Well, it only applies anyway, the person has to fill that out anyway, is the person for the at-large, the way the minute reads anyway.
I think it's all of them.
They could cross it out initially, if they don't want to sign that part of it.
And what would that do to, then if you want to appoint somebody with that? If
Yeah,
I had
I'd
two
rather have it
applications.
stricken than have somebody cross it out.
I would
initially.
too, that would
'Cause
reflect
that
totally.
goes, well, wait a minute.
Yeah, exactly.
I wonder
Not
if you would.
necessarily, because there may be a situation where it just hasn't come to light, that we are doing something wrong. And I would like to hear from that person on what they think we are doing wrong, So it's not necessarily a disqualifier for me. It's how do we make this right?
Diane, I think if you want to change the form, that might be as simple as making a motion to change the form.
Okay, well, if that's all it takes, then I'll go ahead and make the motion to just have the last phrase stricken. Yeah, that one,
Bottom line.
everyone knows.
You got two phrases on there.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying, so I'll go ahead and make the motion to refuse to remove the pledge requirement on the application form for the planning and zoning.
Which is the very last one on the
Yeah,
bottom.
it's the pledge. Do you pledge? Okay, so that's the one, everybody understands which one I'm saying, you got
Yep.
that? Okay, so I would just ask that the pledge be stricken from the application of the planning and zoning board.
Okay, we have a motion on the table to strike the final statement on the Planning and Zoning Commission application, stating that you do pledge to speak positively and constructively about Marion County as a whole and not slander the county, its employees, or elected officials. And that's your motion?
Yes, it is, you said it well.
Diane's motion, is there a second? Any second? Not, fails by not having a second.
I would like to, Diane brought another situation up too. Diane, do we have any deadline for these?
That's
applicants?
something that we need to talk about because, and I think that Brad will have something for you on Monday, I hope, as far as a plan on transitioning and who actually has appointments open within the new, and what the terms should be to be able to rotate. But there has been no guidance given as far as
Right.
that deadline.
I'd also like to ask if the ones just that were living in different areas than what they was assigned by, does that automatically go to the other people, or do?
What do you mean?
Well, the way we
Well-
ever set it up is two per district and one at large.
Well, and that's what I'd like to talk about.
So if you appointed somebody and they live in Jonah's area, Jonah really wouldn't have another appointment to make unless it was the at-large position.
No, like I only have one person now that's on the commission,
You have another appointment to make.
yeah. And that's come from Randy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one I
Is that what you mean?
I'm talking about both of them, Jim over here and then Kathy.
Yeah, I think because what
So
you're saying.
Joe's got two already.
Yeah, he don't have no choice this time.
Well, excuse me, but I disagree with that entirely because, and I had talked to Brad about this, and I don't mean to speak out of line, but I did talk to Brad about it, and I have read the statutes and I have talked to other people about it as well. Yeah, he does not have to keep the people there. There is a complete change of board, this is a total organization. Jonah, and I'll use him as the example since that's brought up, or any one of you, or any one of us, who are now going into a district to where there's already somebody in place. That new commissioner does not have to keep that person. Now, he can, and it falls on his own conscience and his own belief as to what he wants there. So if in Jonah's case, he's got two, he has no, I heard it said that he has none. Actually, he has two to consider. And the same way with Mr. Crowfoot.
I've got two.
And-
I mean, I got
okay.
one.
Okay.
Consider.
So he does, by law, he is not bound to
Nels
keep
here.
those.
Hank Ricks.
So why are we organizing?
Well,
Commission.
under a total reorganization such as this,
Mhm.
that's why Diane is referring back to, if there's two new ones that you want to replace one that's on it already, you can do that.
So that requires to.
So every year, when you
Yeah.
elect commissioners, you
Oh, that's,
replace them?
it's all
Next
up in there to
time?
me, whatever needs to be done here, to have a plan here, then for the large one, to have a plan, a deadline that the public knows that they can apply to.
Okay.
I mean, that's just stuff we need to lay out and get accomplished here.
Yeah, because I think we're all, well, Diane says she has an appointment to make, and probably all of us maybe have talked to an individual or two that we think
Yeah, I think we need to.
might
do
be a
everybody.
right fit.
Mhm.
You know, and I'd hate to say, well, we're gonna appoint you to the commission and then find out, well, wait a minute, maybe we're not gonna appoint you to the.
Well-
Well, and then if we do have commissioners, if that is the, depending on how you decide to implement this transition, if, like, for instance, Shona, you have two people in your district that are currently on and their terms aren't up. And so if you go into that and just determine that if it's legal and all of that, and you determine that you wanna appoint someone else or appoint two new people, you're gonna have to consider, some people won't have the same terms. It would be filling an unexpired term and then, because your
Well, yeah.
planning commission can't all turn over at once, or shouldn't. You know, it shouldn't. So some of the people that are appointed initially may have different terms of
Right.
office than others, to be able to facilitate, you
One
know,
of them up here,
transitioning in the
yeah.
future.
I just don't know, his deadline that we got that paper was 2020, well, I don't know whether that's at the end of 2020 or first,
That's the end.
end of 2020. So he's good for a year.
Yeah, so anybody on the paper that we had that said 2019, those ones are up
Okay.
at the end of this year.
So like, my new person that I appoint would have a 3-year term, because I have, not
We-
replacing anybody.
We would have to verify, because
Okay.
overall, you're gonna have to look at the board as a whole and how those terms are gonna end up rotating, and then you're gonna have to fit any new appointments in. Some of them may be adjusted.
And then it falls into two commissioners here that they're only on for a year. They gotta run again next year. It's gonna be 4 of us run.
Right, and I wanna verify that again. I know I had legal advice on that at the time, but it still feels wrong to me that we would have 4 at once out of a 5-member board. So I'm gonna verify one more time, but,
You would think it would fall into the rotation where it would be 3.
Right.
And then 4, then 4.
well, it wouldn't be like that. It would be 4 initially because of the timing of
No,
the
I mean,
positions.
4 years is what I was 3 years, then 4 years, right?
Oh,
Talking about commissioners' terms.
Yeah.
right. So instead of the
Because-
short, like the 1 and then the 2 again.
Yeah, so
So
the
if we
two
appoint
new.
a new member next month, they're gonna basically have a 3-year term.
Well, maybe not. You'd have to look at
And-
overall the structure of your board and what position they're filling.
So, you know, that's a question you'll get. Well, how long's the term? I might do it for a year or two.
Yeah.
Well, generally speaking, the term is 3 years,
Yeah.
but the first time they're appointed, depending on where they're falling into that rotation schedule that's gonna be developed, it may or may not be.
And that goes 2 ways. I will also say, and I'll be the example again, I did appoint Dwayne there, and I told him it was a 3-year term. Well, of course, we know he served about 1 and then resigned. So, I mean, it goes two ways. I didn't expect him to resign, but he did. And so that made a vacancy there.
For that unexpired term.
That's right.
So it'd be a short term.
Yeah, so I mean, it goes both ways, whether the commission would appoint somebody. When you appoint it on a board, you just expect that. There's no guarantees, there's no promises. True, I mean, you don't wanna hurt nobody's feelings, but on the other flip side, the way I look at it is I try to appoint who I feel is best suited
Yeah,
for that board.
yeah, but we want to be able to give them factual information, and then once they get on the board and they find out, well, my term is not 3 years.
Makes you look like an idiot.
You know, like
Yeah.
I go and ask somebody this weekend to be on board, I'm up for a re-election, so maybe they'll only be there for 1 year because the new commissioner could reappoint, my theory.
So I don't-
Generally, after this reorganization, once they're appointed,
They'll
they
stay for
wouldn't
three-
be up for reappointment or change
Until their term
until their
is
term
up.
is
So the new
up,
commissioner-
regardless
Yeah.
of if we change commissioners.
And I think most people out there understand the reason
I
we
see
change
where your
over
brain
now
is.
is because of the new commissioners, not because a commissioner changed their mind. So you wouldn't look silly, because it wouldn't be something that's in your control, it's because of the reorganization of the county. So, okay, that was my public
Okay,
speech.
any other citizen concerns? If not, I'll make a motion to adjourn and wish everyone a happy new year.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Randy, all those in favor?
Aye.
You let me have a second one.
Well, he likes that, doesn't he? I
Oh,
noticed
you-
that.
yeah, you got right in there today.
Yes.